Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of F1TW, the series where I go over everything that's happened in F1 in the last week or so. This week is the 2025 Brazilian Grand Prix, following on from last week's dominant Mexican Grand Prix. Before the weekend started, Franco Colapinto extended his Alpine contract running through 2026, and Williams have gone for a light blue and orange Golf livery this weekend. If you don't know what Golf is, it's one of the most famous sponsors in racing history, and they make awesome, their branding themed liveries, and Williams have done another one. In FP1, on the exit of turn 4, Yuki Tsunoda started wobbling and couldn't correct it before sliding into the wall. Later in the session, Lewis managed to save a 720-degree spin, and Lando Norris got the fastest lap with a 109.975. Because it's a sprint weekend, that was our only practice session, so now we're into sprint qualifying. In SQ1, Lando Norris got the fastest lap with a 109.627, and the drivers eliminated were Franco Colapinto, Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon and Carlos Sainz. In SQ2, at the end of the session, Charles Leclerc spins, bringing out a yellow flag that ruins a lot of people's laps. One of these people is Lewis Hamilton, his teammate, who is eliminated from Q2 because of Charles' spin. Fernando Alonso gets the fastest lap. The drivers eliminated are Lewis Hamilton, Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly, Gabriel Bortoleto and Oliver Bearman. In SQ3, to begin with, George Russell is P1 before Kimi quickly replaces him. A little later, as usual, Lando gets his lap in and takes P1 from the grasp of the Mercedes. At the end of the session though, Kimi is looking like he might actually be able to get ahead of Lando, but he has a small mistake coming out of one of the corners which ends his chances. Lando has pole position. So the final grid for the top 10 is Lando Norris, Kimi Antonelli, Oscar Piastri, George Russell, Fernando Alonso, Max Verstappen, Lance Stroll, Charles Leclerc, Isa Kadjar and Nico Hülkenberg. Now, in the sprint, not much happened at turn 1 apart from Max overtaking Fernando. On lap 1, on the straight after turn 3, Liam Lawson was trying to overtake Ollie Bearman, who squeezed him onto the grass, for which he was given a 5-second penalty. Ollie, that was. But at turn 4, Liam dived down the inside from too far back, sending Ollie into a spin, which gave him his own 5-second penalty. On lap 6 at turn 3, Kimi Antonelli reports some water being splashed up by Lando. His theory is proved correct when only a few seconds later, Oscar spins off the now wet curb and lands in the wall, closely followed by Nico Hülkenberg and Franco Colapinto. This obviously brings out a red flag. On the restart at turn 1, the Mercedes goes side by side, but Kimi, the more aggressive of the two drivers this weekend, comes out ahead. For about the next 5 laps, Fernando is holding up a huge train of cars, beginning with Charles Leclerc's Ferrari. On lap 21, Kimi Antonelli had majorly caught up to Lando Norris and had even more pace than the McLaren man. It actually seemed like he could get the move done. On lap 22, Charles Leclerc gets past Fernando into turn 4 for P5 after a long battle. On lap 24 at turn 1, Gabriel Bortoleto has a huge rear lockup, spinning hard to the left into the wall, then bouncing off the wall, getting some airtime, nearly rolling the car and hitting another wall. A really scary crash that I just have to play the clip for. Somehow he came out of it completely unharmed. That is just amazing how Formula 1 is that safe now, where a driver can have that crash and still be completely unharmed. On lap 24 at the end of the race, Lando Norris crosses the line to take sprint victory in Sao Paulo. Kimi claims P2, his best finish so far this year, even if it is in a sprint, and George rounds off the podium. By the end of the race, Lando has the fastest lap with a 112.120, and the finishing order was Norris, Antonelli, Russell, Verstappen, Leclerc, Alonso, Hamilton, Gasly, Stroll, Hadjar, Ocon, Bearman, Tsunoda, Sainz, Hülkenberg, Lawson, Albon, and then the DNFs Bortoleto, Piastri and Colapinto. Hülkenberg did continue the race after his crash. Before Sauber weren't able to repair Gabriel Bortoleto's car in time for qualifying, so he will be sitting out for the session. In Q1, early in the session, Max is hovering in the drop zone, but that's fine, he'll just put in a good lap at the end and escape. Normally. In actuality, his first escape lap is ruined by a snap of oversteer. On the radio, he just seems baffled as to why he can't get any pace out of the car. At the end of the session, he's still not improving and finds himself eliminated in P16. This is the first time he's out in Q1 in his whole career which isn't due to like pace, like the car lacking pace from engine failures or there's like weather or something. The first time where it's just on his driving being eliminated in Q1. But Lando got the fastest lap with a 109.656, and the drivers eliminated were Max Verstappen, Esteban Ocon, Franco Colapinto, Yuki Tsunoda and Gabriel Bortoleto. In Q2, late in the session, both Ferraris are now in the drop zone. Charles Leclerc easily escapes up to P3. However, Lewis Hamilton just doesn't have the pace and falls short, being eliminated in P13. So Lando Norris got the fastest lap with a 109.616, and the drivers eliminated were Fernando Alonso, Alex Albon, Lewis Hamilton, Lance Stroll and Carlos Sainz. In Q3, after the first runs, Oscar Piastri is on provisional pole, but Lando's lap was absolutely terrible, leaving him in P10. With a minute left in the session, Lando comes over the line and takes provisional pole back from Charles, who had recently taken it from Oscar. No one is able to beat Lando's lap time, so he takes pole position. The two Mercedes go out on a late run and Kimi soars up to P2 on the front row for the second time this weekend. The grid order for the top 10 is Lando Norris, Kimi Antonelli, Charles Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Isack Hadjar, George Russell, Liam Lawson, Oliver Behrman, Pierre Gasly and Nico Hülkenberg. Max and Alex decide to start from the pit lane to change engine components, and in the race at turn 1, nothing happened again. On lap 1 at turn 10, Lance does not leave Gabriel Bortoleto any room and forces him into the barrier, causing a safety car. But before the safety car came out at the final corner, Lewis Hamilton misjudges an overtake on Franco Colapinto, hits the Argentinian and gets his own front wing stuck beneath his car, causing massive floor damage, which makes the car very hard to drive. On lap 6 at turn 1, the safety car has come in and Oscar, Kimi and Charles are all going side by side. Oscar locks up and loses control of his car, hitting Kimi, who bounces off and hits Charles, taking the Ferrari driver out of the race. Oscar is given a 10-second penalty for dangerous driving, as he was deemed not to be in control of his car. This causes a VSC. That same lap at turn 8, Yuki loses grip, manages to dodge Franco Colapinto, but just drifts into the side of Lance Stroll, getting himself a 10-second penalty. On lap 7, Max gets a puncture and pits to replace the tyres. Max gets an overtake on a heavily damaged Lewis Hamilton for P15. On lap 18, Max overtakes Fernando for P11, rapidly climbing up the order. When Yuki pitted to serve his penalty, his pit crew were deemed to have served it incorrectly, so they were given another 10-second penalty. On lap 39, Oscar leaves his pit box in P8 as the camera pans to Lewis Hamilton being hauled into the garage and retiring. After a lot of cars pitted, Max actually managed to take the lead of the race briefly before pitting again. On lap 60, Max had caught back up to George Russell, who was in third, and managed to overtake him the following lap. For the rest of the race, he would be chasing Kimi for P2. On lap 71, at the end of the race, Lando Norris capped off another dominant weekend, taking the win in Brazil 10 seconds ahead of P2. But who is P2 going to be? Well, somehow, after defending from Max for 5 laps, Kimi Antonelli managed to hold him off for just long enough to take second place, his new career best finish. By the end of the race, Alex Albon had the fastest lap with a 1:12.4, and the finishing order was Lando Norris, Kimi Antonelli, his career best finish, Verstappen, who started from the pit lane but managed to finish on the podium, one of the best drives you've seen in Formula 1 ever, Russell in P4, Mercedes getting a 2-4, Oscar Piastri, Ollie Behrman, another great finish for the young Haas driver, Liam Lawson, Isack Hadjar, a V-car P7 and P8. I know that doesn't sound that impressive compared to front-running teams, but that is good for a midfield team. Nico Hülkenberg, Pierre Gasly, the last point scorer. Then Alex Albon, Esteban Ocon, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Franco Colapinto, Lance Stroll, Yuki Tsunoda, and then the DNS, Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, and Gabriel Bortoleto. So in summary, Lando is now in by far the best position to win the championship, 24 points ahead of Oscar and 49 points clear of Max. Mercedes have a much nicer position in the World Constructors' Championship, 32 points ahead of Red Bull and 36 points ahead of Ferrari. That double DNF really hurting the Italian team, now in the fight for P3 instead of P2. And Ferrari fans are very much depressed again after a double DNF. Why can't Ferrari just win? Like, seriously, can they not just win a race? Ever? Anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Oh, join my Discord server. I've been forgetting to promote that a lot recently. But, yeah, please join. It would be great to have some of you in the server. It's linked on the channel. Will probably be also linked somewhere around this video. Anyway, yeah, goodbye.
Okay, so this is Editing Thunderfrog. I just wanted to say I'm sorry that this video was quite late. I just never really got round to it, but if you've watched all the way to here, it's pretty safe to assume that you don't really care. So thank you.